I hate long intros. Y'all read the title, so let's get right into it. Now, I promise I'll try not to be too negative. I'll try not to buy into the recency bias because it's clear things are very bad right now for the Miami Heat at the All-Star break. They're currently on a 4-game losing streak and at a season worst 3 games under 500. Now, if you want to note that they're only 2 back of 6, fine, but I'm certainly not very hopeful. I also want to note that with regards to these players' grades, it's obviously my opinion. I base that off many different things, whether it's their contract, their stats, but mostly just relative to my expectations for them. So if a young guy has a higher grade than Bam Adebayo, it doesn't mean that the young guy is better. Just means that he's playing better relative to expectations. We're going to go in alphabetical order, starting with Bam Adebayo, who I have to give a C-. I know he's played much better of late, and truthfully, it does encourage me a lot. He's been more aggressive. He's finally getting back to that mid-range shot, and I think it's giving him a giant boost of confidence. But to see his numbers on the season, just under 17 points per game, 10 boards a night, is getting you 4.5 assists, but the percentages are not any good. 47% from the field, 30% from 3. Those are quite a bit lower than I would have hoped for. I think there's a lot of factors for that. Obviously, all of these players might be impacted by Jimmy Butler, the whole saga, him being in and out of the lineup. I'm sure it does affect these guys. And more so, just the coaching that Erik Spoelstra has instilled this season. Coming into training camp, he said, let's eliminate the mid-range. He said, let's get layups and let's shoot threes. And what Spoelstra essentially did by doing that is completely eliminate what made Bam Adebayo so effective last year. And I think because of that, Bam Adebayo got off to a very poor start offensively, and I think he's now starting to figure it out over the last couple of weeks. But that being said, I can't rate his whole season based off the last couple of weeks. Now, if he keeps playing like he has been, well, then he's certainly trending towards B+ A trajectory if he can finish the season strong. Now, usually in the past, he started these seasons really strong and then kind of tailed off towards the end. So this time, if it's the opposite, then I'll be thrilled. But I'm not super happy with the aggressiveness we've seen most of the season, and more so just his unwillingness to sort of look for his shot. I guess that's the same thing as aggressiveness, but we'll give Bam Adebayo a C-. Obviously, he's elite defensively, night in and night out. I have to mention that, but now he's the guy. You didn't have Jimmy Butler most of the season. He got his max extension this past offseason. I needed to see a jump in that production offensively. It's put up or shut up time for Bam. You're getting paid like the star. You want to be the guy. You want to be the captain. You gotta act like it. No more 16 points per game. No more every other game you're scoring under 10 points. That can't happen no more. And we had a lot of that this season, and for that reason, I'm going with a C-. I promise I won't talk about all the players this long, but obviously Bam Adebayo is the captain. Moving on to Kyle Anderson. He's only played 2 games here. The first game was rough. He was 0 for 5. But last game versus the Mavericks, he was one of the few players that was actually a plus on the offensive end. So I'm going to give him a B-. Obviously, the grade is sort of incomplete, but what I really liked in that last game versus the Mavericks is you could tell he was one of the few guys that was able to slow the game down. I guess that's why they call him slow-mo. I know I've made fun of him for that because it's not good to be slow in this league. But as a team that really doesn't have a true facilitator, they're very turnover heavy. Just having a guy like Kyle Anderson that can kind of slow the game down and play at his own pace, get you a couple of easy baskets inside just because he still is 6'9" with a large wingspan. I did find that beneficial for the Heat, and at the end of the day, he's a smart player. He's a veteran presence. You can't go wrong with that. I'm giving him a B-. Moving on to Alec Burks, a guy who certainly should have played a lot more this season than he has. I'm going to give him a B+ because it seems like every time he does check into the game, which has only been 29 times this year, but it seems like he's effective. You see his 3-point percentage at 43%, which is really, really good. I know he's not known as a defender, but I feel like his on-ball defense has been solid. He's not known as a facilitator, but he's been a guy that they've been sort of able to run him when they do this point guard by committee. He's been able to be a part of that, be a guy that could bring the ball up the court. But more importantly, they got him on a minimum contract, mind you. So the value is very low, but the monetary value is low, but the actual on-court value that he's providing, I think, far and exceeds that. And like I said, they signed him to be a shooter. When he's coming to the game, he's hitting those threes at a 43% clip. And I do think we'll start to see a lot more of him going forward later in the season. And as a Heat team that struggled scoring this year, there's been multiple occasions where he's checked in and really got this team going. So I think B+ is a very fair grade for Alec Burks. Moving on, we got Josh Christopher. He's only played 8 games with the pro team, or I guess the actual Miami Heat, but I'm still giving him a B+ because his G League numbers have been through the roof. Of course, if you want to count Summer League, where he won Summer League Finals MVP, he was really balling in there. He's averaging well over 20+ points in the G League, doing it efficiently. And we always knew that he could score. He was drafted to kind of be like a streaky shooter. But what I've seen of him in the G League is he's a guy that can also pass and he can defend. I think he will have a real role, maybe not on the Heat, but in the NBA in the years to come. He's not super young. Well, he's 23, which I guess is kind of Jaime Jaquez's age. But I do think he's played well enough in the G League that eventually he'll find a role on some team. Maybe it's the Miami Heat next year, maybe not. They could certainly use him because they can use a perimeter guy that can guard and also a guy that can get you buckets because the offense kind of sucks as well. But right now, there's just, for whatever reason, Spoelstra doesn't want to go to him yet. But he's a guy that I really liked what he's done in the developmental program, and maybe we'll see more of him one day. Moving on, we got Tyler Herro, who no two ways about it, he deserves an A. Now, I know the recency bias in me made me want to put it a little bit lower because he has not been good since he was named an All-Star. I think in the 2 weeks since, he's shooting like barely 40% from the field, 30% from three. He's at like 5 turnovers a night. I just checked since he was named an All-Star. And obviously all of those numbers are way worse than before he was named an All-Star. But that being said, that's me talking about a 2-week sample size when we're already a few months into the season here. He is absolutely taken a massive leap with regards to his efficiency, with regards to his playmaking, even his on-ball defense. While he still gets picked on some, we've seen that late. You can tell that it's not as bad as it once was. The unfortunate part is, though, and I was very critical of him in my last few post games, is when they played good teams, when they played the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have a menacing defense, they play a style of tenacious defense that you see in the playoffs. Tyler Herro folded. He wasn't good. Now, I'm going to give Tyler Herro an A so far for his all-star season. It is well-deserved. But as far as my opinions on him as a player, I need to see him do it in the postseason. I want to say it's a make or break year in the postseason for Tyler Herro, but I've said that so many times for him already. How many make or break years can you have? I said it a few years ago. He broke his wrist, got hurt. I said it last year. He had a chance to be the guy. You had no Jimmy Butler. And outside of that one game too, he was pretty terrible. So I love Tyler Herro as a player. I think he can be a great, number 2 or 3 on a really, really good team. I don't think he can be a number 1, but I can't take away his A grade for this season. Because guys that you can tell opposing coaches are really starting to key in on him as a guy that you have to guard. And I feel like for the most part, he's adjusted well outside of, again, when they play these really, really good teams. But he's an all-star, rightfully so, and I give him an A for this season. Haywood Highsmith, I'm giving him a B-. He's a 3-and-D player. That's what I'm grading him as. And as a guy who I think has played solid defense this year, and he's shooting 39% from 3, which is actually a little bit down for most of the season up until like a week ago. He was at like 41% from 3, which is awesome. You're telling me you're getting a guy who's only making $6 million a year, who's playing pretty elite wing defense and shooting 41% from 3? That's an A. That is an A. But the reason that I'm officially going to give him a B- is because he has been in and out of the rotation pretty inconsistently. You can argue that's Erik Spoelstra's fault. Some nights Haywood Highsmith is starting. Some nights he's not getting any minutes. From a consistency standpoint for the rest of the guys, I don't think that's great coaching. I do think Haywood Highsmith should be playing more. And when he was playing earlier this year, he was playing as a starting power forward. He's not a power forward. He's way too small at 6'7". To be a power forward, he should be playing. I'd like to even see him play the 2-guard spot. Why not? Why, instead of making him a small power forward, why not make him a big shooting guard? He's 6'7", 41% from 3, could stay in the corners. You don't need him to ball handle. You could start him next to Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo. Those guys ball handle. But Spoelstra started him at power forward most of the season up until Khalil Ware has been starting over the last few weeks. And then Highsmith got a lot of run at the small forward, which is better. But either way, his numbers this season have been good. I like the defense. A lot of his deficiencies have been because of Erik Spoelstra. But regardless, because his rotation minutes have been inconsistent, I'm going to give him a B-. Moving on, we have Jaime Jaquez Jr., who y'all know I absolutely love because I got a foot fetish for the footwork. The problem is, though, we haven't seen a lot of it this year. And that's why I'm giving Jaime Jaquez a D-. He currently is last on the team in box plus minus by far. The third worst plus minus is Nikola Jovic at minus 33. And then right after him, there's a massive decrease to Terry Rozier, who's like a minus 120. And then after that, you have Jaime Jaquez, who's like a minus 140. So Jaime and Terry, who we'll get into, have been by far the two worst players this season. You can make some excuses for Jaime, which might be legitimate with regards to his role. Of course, his role is directly tied to Jimmy Butler, so having Jimmy in and out of the lineup really affects him. And I do think Jaime's a guy that is his best when he has the ball in his hands, when he can get some post touches or even get the ball in space at the top of the key where he can attack. And the Heat really haven't put him in that position, which why would they? You have a lot of other mouths to feed on this team. I get if you can't get Jaime his touches, but he struggled because of that, and he really hasn't found a way to adjust. You see he's shooting a terrible 29% from three, which is very discouraging because all we heard all offseason is how much he was working on the three. We heard he was dominating in the practice versus Team USA. We saw him play 2 games in Summer League. He looked like man against boys, and I had a huge optimism that he would come into this season and play very, very well, but we haven't seen it. I still think he's a good player. I'm not giving up on him. I'm not saying he's a star because he is already 23 years old, which is not young, but it's not super old. He will get better in this league, but this season hasn't been good. And you can blame Spoelstra too because they are using Jaime a lot as a floor spacer to sit in the corner, which is not his game. So you could blame him for that, but he hasn't been good on it. The only reason I'm not giving him an F is because he is a sophomore. There is problems on this team that's much bigger than him. And there is a such thing as a sophomore slump too. So regardless, I'm going to give him a D-. Next, we're moving on to Keshad Johnson. I'm going to give him a B+. I think I ended up giving all the former G League guys a B+ here just because they haven't got a lot of run with the Heat. Keshad's only played 10 games. I predicted he would have played more. That wasn't the case. But in the G League, he was playing awesome. 18 points per game, elite defense. The three-point shot, his percentage was very good in the G League as well. And there's a reason that the Heat converted him from the G League contract to a standard contract when Drew Smith got hurt. So he is an official part of the roster now. It's well-deserved. I can't give him an A because he didn't play a ton. But with regards to what he's doing in the G League or what he was doing, he was great. He's as good as I expected him to be. And he's a guy that I look to be on the Heat for a long time. And, in the years to come, his production will increase. But B+ for Keshad Johnson. Moving on, we got Pelle Larsson. I'm going to give him a B-. His role has been almost as inconsistent as anyone, maybe even more so than Haywood Highsmith and even Jaime Jaquez. Some nights he's starting, some nights he's playing 30 minutes, some nights he's not playing at all. But he has shown some really bright spots this year. I believe he has several double-figure scoring games. I think he might have had a couple in the 20 points per game where he really got hot in some stretches. And as a rookie, that's more than you can ask for. A guy who has shown flashes, he's shown moments. In the Summer League, of course, he was incredible. Hit the game winner in the championship. I said he was a guy that was good at a little bit of everything with the potential to be great at everything. We've seen him be an on-ball defender, a facilitator, have a decent jump shot on him. But we haven't seen as much of that stuff as I would have liked to see when he's playing. There's a lot of talk because he has played, substantially this year, 36 games. It's not as little bit as Keshad and Josh Christopher and those guys. He has legitimately been playing, and especially of late, since you traded Jimmy Butler, he has been playing. I hear a lot of people saying his on-ball defense is good. It's not. I quite literally see him get cooked almost every time he's out there. Guys are picking on him. Now, maybe some of that is because Spo's throwing him out there to guard the best players on the other team, because we've seen him guard Tatum, we've seen him guard Shea, and that's just another gripe about Spoelstra, who we'll get into later in this video too. I know that's what all my comments are. They want a Spoelstra criticism video, which I will make, but I need some more time to really dive down and know everything wrong with Spoelstra this year, because it's a lot. But again, one of them is putting Pelle out there guarding these superstars. It hasn't worked well. I think he has the potential because of his size, because of his strength. He's very strong, that one day he can be a very good wing defender, but he hasn't been this year. I think he's been bad. The jump shot hasn't been great either. It's only at 34% from three. I was hoping it'd be better, but he has been able to get to the rim sometime. They are using him like Alec Burks in that point guard by committee. And again, I'm rating him based off rookie standards. So I'm going to give him a B minus. Moving on, we got Kevin Love. I'm giving him a B. Only played 19 games. Truthfully, really hasn't played much. The three-point shot hasn't been great when he played. He's only at 36%. But because of the vibes, obviously this season, all the things going on with Jimmy Butler, they needed someone to stabilize the locker room. And from what I've heard, Kevin Love's done a great job of doing that. Obviously, you have all the Instagram stuff he was doing, posting all the movie clips. I thought that was hilarious. And as a fan, I truly appreciate when the players acknowledge what's going on instead of just acting like nothing's wrong. I think it brings some levity to the situation, which as a fan, I also appreciate. And as a teammate, I can imagine that they appreciate that as well. And he just seemed like a great locker room presence. All of the guys can't say enough nice things about him. They all love him. So for that reason, I'm giving him a B, just because the on-court production wasn't great when he played. But don't get it twisted. Kevin Love in this locker room is necessary, especially after losing Udonis Haslem. You kind of lost that true vet leadership. And I think Kevin Love's done a great job kind of fulfilling in that role. A different way than Udonis Haslem, but still a good job. Moving on, we got Davion Mitchell. Same thing. He's only, as Anderson, he's only played 2 games. I'm going to give him an A minus though. Obviously, the defense has been pretty good. He's been guarding some of the stars. Like he was also guarding Shea, and Shea was, cooking a bit too, but that's Shea. But the reason I'm giving Davion an A minus is because I like his energy. I like his effort. In my last video, I said this team has no dogs. They have a couple of dogs, and Davion is certainly one of them. I love the effort on the defensive end, but the reason he's getting such a high grade for me is because offensively, he's surprising me. He's been a guy he's kind of explosive getting to the rim. Not dunking, but explosive, looking to drive into the paint, create angles. He's finishing his layups. He's shooting the threes at a decent clip. It says 35% here for the season, but in his first 2 games with the Heat, I think he's a little bit better than that. And when he does get these steals, he's able to be a little bit of a facilitator, run the fast break a little bit. He's finding guys. He's not a true point guard, but he's serviceable in that role for now. And I really hope the Heat are able to retain him because he's on the last year of his deal. He's a restricted free agent. I don't want to overpay for him. So if another team gives him a contract making $15 million a year, I say let him walk. But if you can get him for a reasonable price, I'd love to keep Davion Mitchell on this roster. I'm giving him an A minus through 2 games. Moving on, we got Duncan Robinson. I'm going to give him a C just because the 3-point percentage hasn't been great. It's at 38-ish% this year. But I love what he's done and everything else when he's played. Like most of these guys, his role has been inconsistent, but he's done a great job facilitating. He's still improved getting to the rim. I think defensively he's gotten a little bit better because he's not automatically getting 2 fouls every time he checks in or starts like he used to. He's not a great defender, but I think he's a little bit improved. And he did continue to improve on the driving game that we saw last season. And they are using his gravity. You can tell he does have a legitimate gravity out there, which I think has opened up some things for Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware because he was starting next to both of them at times. But he's had some injuries. He's been sick, so his lineup's been inconsistent. It's just hard to give him anything better than a C, especially when the 3-point percentage doesn't blow you away. And at the end of the day, that's why you're paying him. But I think he's improved enough in some other areas for me to not be super disappointed in his 3-point percentage. And it's not like it's bad. It's 38% on high volume. It's not great. It's fine. So we'll move on to Terry Rozier, F. First F of the video. I don't even know if I need to elaborate more because I've done it every single video this year. I even posted my own little skit on Twitter, and I think I put it on this channel as a YouTube short where I dressed up as Terry Rozier and went to the basketball courts, meaning I just wrote Rozier on the back of my shirt and wore a headband, and I was bricking threes left and right, doing step backs that didn't even hit iron, because that's what Terry Rozier is. I posted a video a couple days ago called Every Time Terry Rozier Checks In, He Ruins the Miami Heat, because it's true. The thumbnail said he has the worst IQ of all time. It's true. He'll catch the ball wide open, and instead of shooting it, he'll take a contested step back. Even when he does shoot the open 3, he's not hitting it. He's only shooting 30% from 3 this year, which is awful. He's forcing layups in the paint, getting blocked left and right. Can't finish at the rim. He's missing guys wide open. He's not even looking for other guys sometimes. He's no longer the lob passer that he was supposed to be coming from Charlotte. Defensively, he's the definition of a turnstile. And for some reason, he's playing 30 minutes a night. Thank you, Eric Spoelstra, I guess. Terry Rozier's been an F. Shout out to him. Seems like a good dude. He wanted to be here. You love that he stood up for Tyler Hero when Amen Thompson ragdolled him to the ground. You love that stuff. Seems like a good teammate. I know he hangs out with a lot of the guys outside of the games because they post on social media. But on the court, it's been an F. And there's no two ways about that either. Moving on, we got Drew Smith. I'm going to give him an A. He played 14 games this year, and he was really good from the three-point line, 53% from the field. He's at about 51%, and giving you those kind of efficiencies with elite perimeter defense. I'm talking every time he checks into the game, he was immediately getting a steal, playing the passing lane, starting a fast break that way, drawing a charge. And he was doing this on the likes of Devin Booker and whatever other star guard you want to name. He was legitimately an elite point of attack defender. And the reason I'm giving him such a high grade as an A is because coming into this season, I thought he sucked. And I have officially publicly apologized to Drew Smith for his great play this year. And if I'm officially publicly apologizing to someone, I got to give you an A because that means I was damn wrong. I really wanted to give him an A+, but because unfortunately he's only played 14 games due to his torn Achilles, I couldn't give him the A+, because this is now like the second stint in a row where he had a season-ending injury. I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know if he has long-term durability concerns. He is already 27, so he's not super young either. Time will tell. He will be back with the team next year. I expect him to. You just hope that he can fully recover from the torn Achilles because it's a serious injury, and hopefully he can build off what he did for this season, and then maybe I'll give him an A+ next year. But for now, we'll go with an A. Moving on, we got Isaiah Stevens. He's the only guy who hasn't technically played a game with the Heat yet this year. I give him a B+ though because his G League numbers, like the other guys, have been awesome. Leads the G League in assists, like over 10 a game. His assist to turnover ratio is incredible. In the Summer League, he dominated. I love his chemistry with Khalil Ware. I wish we would see some more of that with the main squad, especially since the Heat don't have a true facilitator, and that's exactly what Isaiah Stevens is to a T. And I also felt like his defense was fine. And again, in the Summer League, it's a completely different story when you talk about the NBA, but at 6 foot, if he gets picked on a little bit, fine. Like, just throw him out there. See if he can at least unlock something for Bam Adebayo. Give Bam some easy buckets since no one else can. But regardless, his G League play has been awesome, so we'll give him a B+. Moving on, we got Khalil Ware. I'm giving him a B+. It seems like maybe it should be a little bit higher, at least if you go based off of like Vegas. Vegas had him at like the plus 5,000 to win Rookie of the Year a month ago, and now he's like the league leader, even though Stephon Castle might have passed him. I haven't checked. But regardless, I think he's certainly surpassing everyone's expectations with regards to what he's doing right now. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought he'd be a really impactful player one day, maybe even next year. But we didn't necessarily think he would do it as a rookie because he is only 20 years old. He doesn't have a lot of muscle. You know, he only weighs 230 at 7 feet. So he's a little bit skinny. But no, he's been impactful this year. Quite frankly, he should have been starting a lot longer than he has been because he's only been starting for about a month now. And that's another problem with Spoelstra this year is he waited way too long to start Ware, to even play Ware. We were getting dominated on the boards all year. Spo didn't even attempt to play the athletic 7-footer we have. But regardless, I was actually at the game when the Heat played the Spurs, which was Jimmy Butler's last win in the Heat jersey. So sad, dog. But that's when Spo finally unveiled real minutes with Ware and Bam. The Heat immediately went on like a 20-0 run. And since then, Spo really hasn't looked back. Ware's been starting every single game. And for the most part, he's been good. Shooting 53% from the field, 36% from 3. Those are decent numbers for a 7-footer. The rebounding's been okay. He's only averaging 6 boards a night. But I love his interior presence. He's been a good shot blocker. He's been a good shot alterer. The only reason I'm not giving him an A is because at times he still does look lost, and especially that last game versus Dallas, I did not like the effort rebounding. Gave up back-to-back rebounds to a 6'7" Kessler Edwards because Khalil Ware made no effort to box out. I don't think there's necessarily effort problems with Ware. That's kind of the reason he fell to Miami. There was, people who had concerns whether he really cared about winning. I think his effort's been good this year. The coaching staff has said it's been good. The coaching staff has said they don't know why that stigma was out there because he has been a hardworking guy. I believe it. I just think in a game last night versus Dallas, he didn't think he needed to try hard just because he is so much taller. But in the NBA, all these guys are athletic. Those guys on Dallas are busting their ass to keep a spot in the league. You have to try. You have to box out. And Khalil Ware will work on that. He'll get better. I don't think his ceiling is a superstar or an all-star like people are saying, but I think he will be a really great starting center in this league for a long time. So I'm going to give him a B+. And then finally, on the guys who are still here, we got Andrew Wiggins. It's only been 2 games. I put B+ here. That's definitely not my grade for him. I think I just forgot to update it from Khalil Ware, but I probably would legitimately give him like a D just because he's shooting 29% in his 2 games with Miami. He can't hit a 3 to save his life, but I understand it's ridiculous to judge a guy based off 2 games. So I'm not even going to spend any time editing this or redoing the number because we'll see what happens. Theoretically, it's a good fit. He can play defense. He can contribute 18 points per game, which is more than Highsmith was doing in that starting small forward spot. But I still don't love the trade just because I think the Heat were mid without him. They're mid with him. The only problem is now you have $30 million committed to his contract over the next couple of seasons. I would have rather just not have that money on the books because it would have gave you some more flexibility. But whatever, if Andrew Wiggins comes out the rest of the season, comes out after All-Star break, if he's averaging 20 points per game, shooting 37% from threes, playing elite defense, my opinion can change. But through 2 games, it has been great, but it's just 2 games. Next, I want to talk about the 2 guys that we sent out. Josh Richardson. I hate to give you the D, but I'm gonna do it. D- to be specific, because he's shooting 29% from the field this year and 27% from 3. It's only been in 8 games, and I know he's just a minimum contract, but he couldn't stay healthy. When he played, he wasn't good. And at 31 years old, he was just traded to Detroit in this trade, and then Detroit ended up waiving him, or Utah ended up waiving him. I don't know. I forget because he was getting passed around. His career in this league may be over, at least for now. He's just not the defender he once was. He's not that great a shooter no more. I love Jay Rich. The vibes are great when he's here. He's truthfully an awesome guy. But as far as on the court, D-, even though he's just a minimum contract. And lastly, we got Jimmy Butler. I have to give him an F. Quickly on the positives, he's had a few good games this year. Had maybe his greatest Heat game in a regular season Heat game ever when they played Detroit and lost. But Jimmy had 39, 19, and 10. I was at the game versus Dallas where Jimmy dropped 33. He was taking over and ones left and right. He's had some good games this year. There has been some fun moments with him. But then out of nowhere, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. But what we do know is he quit on the team. And obviously, I've been very vocal about my appreciation for Jimmy Butler. I've been very vocal saying I wanted to keep Jimmy Butler. I would have paid Jimmy Butler. But regardless, that didn't happen. And what did happen is he quit on the team. So just because I'm saying I love Jimmy Butler and I would have kept him and I'm grateful to him forever, doesn't mean I can't be critical of how he handled this whole situation. If you didn't want to be here, fine. Don't quit on the team. Don't show no effort and then blame Erik Spoelstra for not putting the ball in your hands or blame the coaching staff for making you not a star no more. Don't do that. So if you quit on the team, I'm giving you an F, regardless of how many good games you played. And that's really all I gotta say about it. And lastly, the Miami Heat, I'm just gonna give them the D again. Overall, pause on that, unpause. 25 and 29 or 25 and 28, 4-game losing streak at the break. This Heat team said they had clarity after the Jimmy Butler trade, yet they're still winless. But you still got a whole second half of the season to go. I really hope they can turn it around. The offensive numbers are no good, 24th in points per game. Although defensively, the numbers will tell you they're okay. They're actually 7th in opponents' points per game, which I guess is kind of like the 7th best defense. If you go based off defensive rating, they're actually 10th. But when you're 9th in the East, when you're behind the teams like the Pistons and you're neck and neck with the Bulls and you're behind the Hawks who literally just sold off everyone, and I'll just give Erik Spoelstra a D also. Then while we're here, and your coach is having that bad a season where your coach literally lost you a game because he forgot how many timeouts you had, I can't give you better than a D. I can't do it. That being said, there's still time to turn it around, and I'm not going to say I'm hopeful. I'm not going to say I'm optimistic. I'm not even cautiously optimistic, but I'm interested, right? I'm a Heat fan, so I'm going to continue to watch the games the rest of the season. Tyler Hero's in a 3-point contest. Hopefully that can kind of get him out of the slump that he's in. And we still got a whole second half of the season to go on a run and maybe get up to that 6th seed and see what happens. You still got some young guys on this team. Now there's no doubt about it. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo are the guys. You have no playoff Jimmy coming to save you. So let's see what this team does now that they got their new roles. That being said, let me know all y'all thoughts down below. Feel free to comment on what you think of the player grades I gave everyone, and comment your player grades down below as well. I will be reading every single comment. Make sure to like the video and subscribe because all the support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.